From a Lord Mayor's country mansion to a Tudor king's hunting lodge and the backdrop for a royal courtship, Penshurst Place is steeped in centuries of history. Join us as we discover this magnificent estate owned by the Sidney family for over 470 years in the Kent countryside. We'll wander through enchanting garden rooms, stand in awe of the medieval Baron's Hall and marvel at the opulent staterooms. Our adventure doesn't end there. We'll stroll through the charming historic village and seek out the final resting place of Anne Boleyn's forgotten brother. Get ready for a day filled with wonder and discovery as we experience the timeless beauty and fascinating stories of Penshurst Place and its surroundings. This is the charming village of Penshurst, located in Kent, more fondly known as the Garden of England. The village is situated between the market town of Tonbridge and the spa town of Royal Tunbridge Wells. The gatehouse serves as a grand entrance to the Penshurst Place estate, setting the tone for our historical experience. It is open from mid-March to early November, but check their website for full details and ticket information. We visited the gardens first, but in the interest of telling some of the history, let's jump straight towards the house and come back to enjoy the incredible grounds later in the video. We'll cover just some of the key highlights over the centuries, as the historical timelines are extensive and complicated. The story of Penshurst really begins when Sir John de Pulteney purchased 4,000 acres of hunting land in 1338. Pulteney was a wealthy wool and wine merchant, an influential man, and Lord Mayor of London 4 times. He had links to the king and lent him money for the hostilities with France. Prior to the 13th century, little is known about the estate except that it was owned by Sir Stephen de Penchester, who is buried in the parish church, which we'll visit later on in our village walk. With a vision for a wonderful country mansion for hunting, just half a day's horse ride from London, it is believed he enlisted King Edward III's master craftsman to help build the Great Hall and surrounding buildings, using local sandstone in a H-shape layout with the Great Hall at the centre. The hall is seen here with the red tiled roof. This innovative design, completed in 1341, marked a shift from fortified castles to comfortable yet defensible dwellings, setting a new standard for medieval architecture. Pulteney's enjoyment of his magnificent new home was tragically cut short by the devastating bubonic plague of 1346–53. The plague swept through the country, claiming the lives of half the population, including Pulteney himself in 1349. The estate changed hands several times within Pulteney's family until 1382, when it was acquired by Sir John Devereux. Amidst potential foreign threats and the recent peasants' revolt, Devereux chose to fortify the mansion house. He enclosed it with imposing curtain walls and massive corner towers, along with 4 smaller towers in between. Today, only one of the smaller towers and a section of the curtain wall remain, visible along the blue and yellow border. The garden tower is the public entrance to enter the house. Originally known as the Great Hall, Baron's Hall stands at an impressive 60 feet high. It remains the largest room in the house, boasting original chestnut roof beams and a grandeur that once earned it the title of grandest hall in the world following construction. Notice the life-size figures adorning the walls, thought to be satirical carvings of peasants or craftsmen from the manor. The medieval floor, once covered in rushes, was updated with tiles in the 15th century. At the centre of the hall, a large octagonal hearth once warmed the room, the smoke escaping through a now removed vent. A room guide explained that the smoke may have helped preserve the chestnut roof. A fire is still lit here in winter using special smokeless fuel. A wooden cross passage added in Tudor times prevented draughts and provided a screen between the hall and the former passageways to the kitchens. Above this screen, the minstrel's gallery, providing entertainment for guests, and led to the family's private chamber, the East Solar. This versatile space served as a dining area, a gathering place for guests, servants and workers, and even a courthouse for the estate management and justice. At night it transformed into a dormitory for the servants and workers to sleep. Throughout history, many monarchs have graced these walls. Henry VIII famously feasted here in 1519, Queen Elizabeth I often visited, and more recently, this painting commemorates a visit from Queen Elizabeth the Queen Mother. A doorway off the raised dais leads to the crypt or undercroft. The undercroft was generally a storeroom or wine cellar. However, it's possible that this may have been a withdrawing room due to its fairly grand design. Today it tells us more about King Henry VIII's time here and displays costumes from the film The Other Boleyn Girl that was in part recorded at Penshurst. By the turn of the 16th century, Penshurst was owned by the Stafford family. The Dukes of Buckingham used it as their country residence. Edward Stafford, the third Duke, was a claimant to the English throne, his bloodline linked to the House of York. In 1519, he invited King Henry VIII to a lavish feasting party and hunting event over several days, costing an obscene £2,500 or £1.5 million today. The idea was to impress the king and keep him on side. Instead, this display of wealth and power may have led to his downfall, as it sowed a seed of suspicion in the king, and just 2 years later the Duke was branded a traitor, locked in the Tower and beheaded. All his worldly possessions passed to the crown, and Henry had a new country estate to add to his growing collection. Penshurst would remain in royal hands for over 30 years. When Henry VIII died in 1536, it was up to his son King Edward VI to decide its fate, and in 1552 he chose to grant it to Sir William Sidney, his tutor and chief steward of the household. This began a long ownership of the Sidney family that continues to this day, now 471 years. Taking the stairs from the Baron's Hall up to the Solar, we arrive in what is now the state dining room, furnished mostly with 18th century furniture. The walls are adorned with portraits of the Sidney family, who still live in parts of the house not open to the public. The little window is a squint, allowing those upstairs to see what was going on in the hall. The hearth is original 14th century, with a 19th century surround part of a refurbishment. Sir Henry Sidney was head of the family when Queen Elizabeth I was on the throne. He enjoyed a complex relationship with her. Initially favoured by the monarch, their relationship became strained at times. He married Mary Dudley, the sister of Robert Dudley, Earl of Leicester, a close favourite of Elizabeth I. Their marriage produced several children, including their eldest son, Philip Sidney. He went on to become one of the most prominent figures of the Elizabethan age, poet, courtier, scholar and soldier. His works were considered fundamental to English literature, influencing many poets and writers who followed him. His full potential was never realised as he died during a battle, aged just 31. His sister Mary and brother Robert were also significant literary figures in their own right. This artwork, possibly painted in this room, we see Queen Elizabeth I dancing with Duke d'Alençon, youngest son of King Henry II of France. He was a suitor for the hand of Queen Elizabeth I, a courtship that Sidney despised and was very vocal about, risking the wrath of the Queen. Their courtship ultimately failed due to religious and political differences. The next two rooms require us to roll back on the history to before the Sidney family in the 15th century. In 1429, John of Lancaster, the first Duke of Bedford and third son of King Henry IV, bought Penshurst. Over his 6-year ownership, and as a regent of France, he injected a French influence and built a second first-floor grand hall. These rooms were once the grand chamber. Sir Henry Sidney separated them, reducing the ceiling and building new rooms above. The Queen Elizabeth room would have been used by her as an audience room during her many visits. The tapestry room showcases some of the elaborate tapestries acquired by the family over the centuries. Listed as the Page's Room, this might have been where the page would have waited to be called in the 15th and 16th century. Adapted in the 19th century, it now displays a collection of Oriental porcelain from the 17th and 18th century. The portrait is of Hubert Langeais, scholar and tutor to Sir Philip Sidney. Long galleries were very fashionable, and at the turn of the 17th century, Sir Robert Sidney and his wife Barbara built this exquisite gallery that has been seen on screen many times. Heading back downstairs, we enter the panelled room, which was the base of one of the 8 towers that fortified the manor at the end of the 14th century. As the buildings evolved, this room was used as the housekeeper's room, part of the old kitchens. The panelled room was restored in the 1960s, returning it to a bedroom. The nether gallery below the long gallery showcases a collection of historical arms connected to the Sidney family. Formerly part of the kitchens, it was restored in the 1950s. The centrepiece is Sir Philip Sidney's magnificent funeral helm, which was made specifically for his state funeral in 1586 and was carried in the procession itself. The last room to view is a recreation of the family kitchen in the 19th century, giving us an idea of what it was like in a stately home. A housekeeper, kitchen maid, butler and pantry boys worked alongside the gardeners for fruit and veg to produce meals for the family and run the domestic side of the house. Leaving the house, there is a toy museum to visit. Sadly, we didn't realise this or see the signage. It is said to contain a wonderful collection of toys played with by the family, along with other items lent to the collection. Please make sure you search out the museum. Records show gardens existed at Penshurst Place as early as 1346, likely with a focus on providing fruit and vegetables for the household, making them one of the oldest in private ownership. Sir Henry Sidney, who acquired Penshurst in 1552, is credited for laying out the core structure of the gardens we see today. He combined beauty with function, creating walled areas for cultivating produce while also incorporating ornamental elements. Subsequent generations of the Sidney family continued to develop the gardens, adding new features and refining the overall design. The gardens became renowned for their beauty and were often mentioned in literary works of the time. The gardens have remained remarkably true to their Tudor origins, with the layout and many of the original features still intact. These make them a valuable historical resource, providing a glimpse into gardening practices of the past. Today they're considered amongst the finest in England, so enjoy this section of the video as we walk through the grounds and garden rooms. Climbing the steps enables us to get a better view of the Union Flag Garden, a unique and striking floral display designed in the shape of the British Union Jack flag, created with red, white and bluish flowers, primarily roses and lavender. It offers a patriotic spectacle. The porcupine, a prominent symbol in the Sidney family's crest, predates their arrival at Penshurst Place. Throughout the estate you'll find the porcupine emblem in various forms. This grand porcupine statue was commissioned by Philip Sidney, 2nd Viscount de Lisle, the current Sidney family owner, to commemorate the millennium. Coronation Walk was named after the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II, lined with apple trees and spring daffodils. Overlooking Demilund Pond, the Archer Sundial is a sculpture by Robert Rattray, grandson of William Sidney, 1st Viscount de Lisle. This striking artwork commemorates the centenary of William's birth. Robert was also the designer of the porcupine statue seen earlier, creating this piece as a tribute to his grandfather. The Nut Garden is a unique and charming part of the walled gardens. Designed by John Codrington in the 1970s, it features an abundance of Kentish cobnut trees known for their delicious nuts, which provide a wonderful autumn harvest. In spring, the garden is carpeted with a vibrant display of flowers. Also designed by Codrington in the 70s, the grey and white garden is a tranquil and elegant space featuring a harmonious blend of silver, grey and white foliage, creating a soothing and sophisticated atmosphere. Diana's Bath is a beautiful ornamental pond, originally an Elizabethan stew pond, later transformed with elegant stone edging added in 1890. Adorned with water lilies and a fountain, it provides a tranquil retreat. Whilst the exact origin of its name remains unknown, Diana's Bath likely references the Roman goddess Diana, associated with hunting, wilderness and bodies of water, reflecting the pond's serene and natural setting. The paved garden is characterised by its stone pathways, featuring a mix of evergreen and deciduous shrubs, perennials and climbers, chosen for their interesting foliage, textures and colours. Notable planting includes wisteria, aces and a variety of flowering plants. Jubilee Walk was added in 2012, designed by well-known garden designer George Carter, RHS Gold medalist. It features double herbaceous borders that showcase a spectrum of hues, transitioning from vibrant reds and oranges to cooler purples and blues. The rose garden is laid out in a formal style, with symmetrical beds and pathways enhancing the visual impact of the roses. It showcases an extensive collection of roses, including hybrid teas, floribundus, climbers and old-fashioned varieties, providing a diverse display of colours, shapes and scents. The heraldic garden features a collection of coloured poles topped with heraldic beasts, symbols of the Sidney family. The planting includes box hedging and varieties of sage and lavender. Opened in 2019, the George Carter Walk replaced the Lanning rope border, which was planted in the 1970s. Carter, a close friend of the Sidney family, was approached again to create a new double border. Current head gardener Tony Wiseman and the team replanted the border in autumn 2023 with a new variety of height, form, texture and colour. The Italian garden dates back to the 16th century and has undergone various renovations and additions over time, yet preserving its historical significance. A statue of Hercules and a lily pond are its centerpiece. After Henry VIII seized the estate in 1521, following the execution of the Duke of Buckingham, the property became a conveniently located residence for the king. Nearby is the beautiful Hever Castle, the childhood home of Anne Boleyn. We explored her life and provided a tour of the castle in a separate video on this channel, so do check that out for another Tudor history hit. The link will be at the end and in the description. Anne's father, Thomas Boleyn, was a skilled diplomat and ambassador for the king, demonstrating his loyalty and capabilities. He shared the king's passion for courtly pursuits like hunting and jousting, which likely fostered a personal connection alongside their professional relationship. This close bond led to Thomas's appointment as Keeper of Penshurst Place, responsible for maintaining the estate in the king's absence. Crucially, he likely also facilitated the introduction between his daughter Anne and the king, a pivotal moment in their courtship. It's speculated that Henry used Penshurst as a base for visiting Anne, or even as a discreet location for their romantic rendezvous. Whilst no record confirms this theory, it's a plausible scenario given the circumstances. Another mysterious link to the Boleyn family exists in Penshurst Parish Church, so let's now leave the garden and head there. Situated on the southwest corner of Penshurst Place, opposite the gatehouse lies the village church. In front of it is Leicester Square, named after the Sidney family who held the earldom of Leicester from 1618 to 1743. Entering the churchyard through the square, you'll be greeted by an incredibly picturesque horseshoe of historic timber-framed buildings. One such structure is the Old Guild House, a unique 16th century building, one of only two of its kind remaining in England. A timber archway connects it to the churchyard entrance. Originally intended for civic or community purposes associated with the church, the Old Guild House was later converted into two cottages in the 17th century, a layout it still retains today. A charming detail is the King George VI postbox, affixed to the wall of a building added in the 1850s. Passing through into the churchyard, ahead of us is St John the Baptist Church, a building that has been altered and enlarged over the centuries. A church has existed here since at least 1115 and likely long before that. Thomas Becket installed the first priest here in 1170, his last official act before his murder in Canterbury Cathedral 2 days later. This apparent tombstone is in fact a dole table, a very rare example used to distribute bread to the poor. Inside the church we are looking for a very small gravestone which holds the inscription of Thomas Boleyn, the brother of Anne. Sir Thomas and Elizabeth Boleyn had two sons that died very young in 1505 or 6 and are hardly mentioned in historical scripts. Henry is buried at Hever, but for some unknown reason, Thomas was laid to rest in what has become the Sidney Chapel, and here we find his tombstone. Sir Thomas Boleyn did not become Keeper of Penshurst Place until 1522, so it would appear that the Boleyn family had some other connection to Penshurst prior to that event. It remains a complete mystery. Many of the Sidney family are buried or have memorials in this chapel. The ceiling dates from 1822 and is painted with the family's heraldic shields. In addition to the Sidneys, we find the grave of Sir Stephen de Penchester, the earliest known owner of Penshurst Place. He died in 1299. The font dates from the 15th century. As you leave, don't miss the Beckett window installed by a local parishioner and master glazier. The village of Penshurst grew up inside the estate and is very small and quaint. Its short high street is filled with pretty timber-framed buildings, the local pub, along with a mix of residential homes and a few shops. Perhaps the most picturesque building is this quirky local store, post office and garage, which was once the village forge. We just love the horseshoe wooden surround. The village hall was built in the late 19th century thanks to the generosity of philanthropist Arnold Hills, founder of the Thames Ironworks Football Club, which became West Ham United FC. Behind the hall is the Fir Tree House Tea Room, which is apparently a wonderful place for an English afternoon tea and scones. We, however, had our sights set on a pint. The Leicester Arms is the local pub and hotel, popular with cyclists and hikers passing by. It was also a great spot for us to grab a drink after all our walking and filming. Spending half an hour watching the world go by was a relaxing end to a wonderful day in Penshurst. We highly recommend you come and visit too.
Well, that's it from Penshurst Place and Gardens. What a fantastic place. The house was amazing. The gardens are just gorgeous at this time of year. Hope you enjoyed the tour. We've got lots more like this on the channel. Do check out our other playlists. Subscribe and join us again. Give us a like, maybe give us a comment. But we'll see you on the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye now.